Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're talking about how the alleged Tinder serial killer has been caught, has been extradited to New York to face the death charge of Samantha Stewart, taken way too soon in this world. Rest in peace, Samantha. How this cowardly guy can do this stuff, I never understand these things anyway. But we're going to dive into this. Danueal Drayton, 31 years old, has been charged with the murder of Samantha Stewart, a New York nurse he met on the Tinder app. He has been indicted for allegedly murdering her and sexually abusing her dead body after luring her out on a Tinder date. And get this, they arrested him while he held another woman captive in a hotel room in North Hollywood against her will after she had just been sexually assaulted. He's been arrested. Guess what? He was currently already out of custody while facing a separate criminal case for allegedly choking an ex-girlfriend. So while he was out, the judge let him out, no bail, let him out after he just allegedly choked his ex-girlfriend. Now he's being extradited to New York. While he was in custody in Los Angeles, he allegedly shared that he has killed 7 total female that police officers believe he used Tinder app and maybe even plenty of fish to lure the women. And for people who are looking for love through these dating apps, hoping that they match you with the right person, here's the truth. Whether it's a dating app, whether you meet someone in a bar, whether someone introduces you to someone else, at the very beginning, you don't know anybody. You don't know each other. So you have to go into it a little more careful, even if it's by a trusted friend. Now, if you know this person, that's a different story, obviously, but we gotta be careful. You hear stories like this, that'll make you a little scared to use the dating app if you're looking for love, I would think. But truth is, you have to be careful with anyone you meet. And so now he is accused of brutally beating and killing this innocent woman in her home in Jamaica, Queens, in New York. After he committed this act of violence, he fled to escape prosecution because he knew they were going to catch up to him. Now that he's back in their custody, they are looking to hold him accountable for his action. And Drayton, now he's been extradited from California to New York, and finally he has been arraigned as of last Friday, last week. And he has been arraigned for charges of murder in the 2nd degree, grand larceny in the 4th degree, petite larceny, sexual misconduct, identity theft in the 2nd and 3rd degree, unlawful possession of personal identification information in the 3rd degree, and criminal possession of stolen property in the 4th degree. Danueal Drayton, he used to live in New Haven, Connecticut. He is from Connecticut. He lured Samantha Stewart through Tinder to go out on a date. He used his charm, he used his words, he used his personality, how he knew how to charm a person. But then he always had that moment where he flips, and he would flip on people. So he lured her to go out on a date. Then they went back to her apartment in the Springfield Gardens neighborhood of Queens, New York. This is north of JFK Airport, if you're familiar with New York City. And sometime that day, he is alleged to have beat and strangled a 29-year-old nurse and then engaged in sexual conduct with the deceased body. Samantha Stewart's brother found her body the next day wrapped in a blanket in the corner of her bedroom, and her teeth had been knocked out. And then he allegedly took her credit cards, fled in a white van that was found at Kennedy International Airport, and used one of her cards, her credit cards, to buy a ticket to California to avoid prosecution. Cops arrested him in Los Angeles just days later on July 24th, 2018. It was there, they say, he held a woman captive in a hotel room. And the one he murdered, the common denominator between the two is the dating websites. So they, at this time, believe that the common denominator is this Tinder dating app. And so they believe that he was using these dating websites to meet women and then victimize these women. And so when he committed that heinous crime, he was out on custody after he was accused of choking his ex-girlfriend in Nassau County, New York. And the judge canceled his $2,000 bail after not knowing he had a conviction record in Connecticut for strangulation, harassment, and violating protective orders. The details were missing in his New York file, so the judge at that time did not know of how deep this guy's crimes were going. And so again, when he was arraigned last Friday in Queens Supreme Court, this was after spending 4 years in custody in Los Angeles for an unrelated crime. In July of 2018, when they caught up with him, he was arrested in Los Angeles for allegedly raping a woman he met in an Uber pool. He has also been charged with murdering a woman he met on Tinder, which is Samantha Stewart. Los Angeles County prosecutors, they charged Danueal Drayton with sexually assaulting and attempting to murder a woman who shared the same Uber ride. And this is a crime that might have ended more tragically if not for the arrival of police who charged into the victim's home mid-assault. Drayton had been tracked all the way to North Hollywood by a New York, New Jersey police task force investigating the murder of Samantha Stewart, who was a 29-year-old nurse. And she was found strangled to death with all of her teeth knocked out in her Queens, New York home apartment on July 17th. Now, police had alleged that Drayton killed Stewart after arranging a date through Tinder. Allegedly, there was also a possible third rape victim as well. You see, the NYPD says they used DNA from the murder scene to connect Drayton to a sexual assault 1 month earlier in Brooklyn. The victim in that case says she also met her assailant through the Tinder app, alleging that after their date on June 17th, he choked her unconscious and she woke up to find him raping her. A few weeks later, on June 30th, he was arrested for choking his ex-girlfriend, but was released by a judge without bail against the objection of prosecutors on July 5th. Now, in March of that year, he was found guilty of second-degree harassment, but his jail sentence was suspended in favor of 1 year probation. And according to the New York Daily News, when Drayton was interviewed by investigators in Los Angeles, he reportedly claimed responsibility for at least 6 other murders, which is why they say he's an alleged Tinder serial killer. And of the 6 other murders, outside of the New York Samantha Stewart, he claimed responsibility for 2 in Connecticut, 1 in the Bronx, 1 in Suffolk County, 1 in either Queens or Nassau County, and possibly another California homicide. But police have not been able to find any proof of his claims. At least 2 of those victims do not appear to fit Drayton's alleged pattern of sexual assaulting and strangling female victims that are targeted via dating apps. They're saying that's his MO. For example, according to Daily News, Drayton claimed responsibility for the killing of a Bronx man who died after reportedly being attacked by 2 men. He tried to take credit for that. Whereas the New York Police Department already had charged a homeless man in connection to that crime. Another man that he had identified as someone that he had murdered was an Indian man who was found murdered in Connecticut, and he identified him as one of his victims. And here's the truth. Serial offenders and very much serial killers, they have a tendency to stick to an MO, a pattern of recurring violent behaviors, and in the way they target victims with one or more shared attributes. For example, Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer was basing his victims off of the zodiac signs. And it is true, we do know that sometimes people will confess to murders they didn't do for different reasons, right? Maybe they want to be a little more famous for their actions. Maybe they are looking for attention. Maybe it's just psychiatric reasons that make them confess. Maybe it's intensive interrogation that makes them confess, right? So there are a number of different reasons why sometimes a person would confess to a murder they did not commit. But they do believe that there are potentially more victims out there because, number one, they bum rush the hotel and find him in there with someone that he just victimized. And the reasoning behind allegedly why he committed this act against Samantha Stewart, he said he heard voices. Voices made him do it. Danueal Drayton, he told a Daily News reporter who visited him at a Los Angeles jail where he had been in custody on charges involving the other woman he held captive in California that he remembers strangling Samantha Stewart 2 weeks before the interview and talked about voices urging him to harm people. In reference to Samantha Stewart, he says, "I really liked her. I didn't want to kill her. They told me she had to die." They being the voices. He tells the reporter, "I'm a passenger in my own body. It's mind control. They use direct energy weapons on me to control my mind." He says he strangled Stewart and then tried to resuscitate her, but eventually her body went stiff. He used bleach to partially clean up the crime scene, but intentionally left his Egyptian cologne behind in the hope people could link it to him. He says, "I wanted to get caught. I took some of her things with me and used them. I kept my same phone. I knew they could track it. I didn't know how long it would take." He even said he recalled choking an ex-girlfriend at a park in Inwood on Long Island. That woman, Zinnia Barney, she told the Daily News that week that Drayton seemed like a cool guy initially, but when she broke up with him, he tried to strangle her until bystanders intervened. The next day, he threatened to kill her and her family. After buying a one-way ticket to California using Stewart's credit card, Drayton landed in Los Angeles and met a woman while taking an Uber ride. That's according to him. He said they went back to the woman's apartment where he choked her. He recalled seeing her body wedged between a toilet and the wall, thinking she was dead, but then she stirred. He said he attempted suicide with Advil before police caught up with him. And he told Daily News he could not remember meeting the 23-year-old woman he is accused of raping in Brooklyn. She's not 23 now. He also said that those voices cause him to have blackouts. "They make it so I can't remember." That was his quote. "They make it so I can't remember." And so when he went on this date with Samantha Stewart on July 16, 2018, Drayton said that at the time he and Stewart visited a racetrack and shared an artichoke pizza, and he had no intention of hurting her. Once inside her apartment in Queens, he beat and strangled and engaged in sexual conduct with her deceased body. Well, there you have it, my friends. The alleged Tinder serial killer is caught behind bars, finally going to face charges, and hopefully will never see the day of light again, because he is guilty of this crime. I know, allegedly, because I guess we're supposed to say that because you're innocent until proven guilty, but you have confession, you have trackable evidence, you have DNA. What else is there? Him to just say I'm guilty and avoid the trial. So he's due in court on May 23rd, facing the charges of murder, sexual misconduct, and grand larceny, amongst other, as I mentioned earlier. And so we'll wait and see, but we know this dude is most likely never getting out again. And my friends, be careful with who you're trusting. Be careful. I know, it's hard. It's very hard. Be careful. That's all you can really do, right? Be careful and be aware. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. I look forward to serving you again. Peace. Have a great day.